Engaged.
Partnering with our citizens and involved in our community.
Progressive.
Embracing innovative strategies while maintaining proven practices.
Dedicated.
Serving with integrity and professionalism. Elgin became an incorporated city in 1854 and installed its first police marshal, George W. Renwick. Over the years, the title of the head law enforcement officer changed from marshal to chief. And although the role has expanded, one duty has remained consistent: to ensure law and order for the citizens of Elgin.
It's time now for Fridays with the Finest, featuring Elgin's current police chief, Anna Lalley, on Elgin's hometown radio station since 1949, WRMN AM 1410 and 96.7 FM.
Friday, and welcome to Fridays with the Finest here at WRMN. AM 1410, WRMN Radio on YouTube. Looks like Chief Anna Lalley's here, and she's set to do some reading.
Yes.
She has brought a lot of materials in.
Guys, today we're going to read a book.
I got kind of chatty with the chief last week, and I think we only got about the half of the things that you brought last week.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Every week I try to do something, what's relative, what's going on, conversations. So, we'll kind of just wing it today. I have some information, but...
Yeah, it's totally not what I thought. I was thinking...
Yep.
I thought I remember you saying that because of it being Autism Awareness Month. Is it just week?
No. So Autism Awareness Month is in April.
Okay.
But we are doing an event.
An event, okay.
Not this Saturday, the following Saturday. So I'll talk a little bit about that now, too, if you...
Sure.
So it would be the 16th, Saturday, November 16th at 1 o'clock. We are partnering with the Autism Hero Project, and it will be a screening of a documentary film about autism awareness, and it's really geared towards the law enforcement community and why, especially the law enforcement community, but also why, the community should, understand how and the ways in which law enforcement responds to the autism community if there's a call for service. And so this documentary, I've seen it. I've had a preview, and it's really good. It's really informative. I think it hits some, it humanizes some of the things that police officers do encounter, and also from the autism community, some of the things that they are worried about with law enforcement. If you don't have officers who are trained in how to respond and understand, things that we may normally do on some calls, might be making the situation worse. So the documentary, it's at 1 o'clock, Judson University in their chapel. And so we will be there. Autism Hero Project. We have, I think the last time I talked to Tamika, so Tamika, everyone knows her from the Autism Hero Project. She's been on the show.
Yeah.
Last time I talked to her, I think there are over 100 people that will be there. Now, Chief Eric Echeverria from Peoria, who used to be one of my commanders, will be there as well. And the reason why he's there, so the Elgin Police Department, started our autism awareness event that we do every April. And this year will be the 5th year, but we started that with Eric. And so Eric, he gets the credit and, for bringing some of and meeting with, he knew Tamika, and through that relationship, bringing some of the stuff here. So, Eric has been gone for, I think 3 years now. It's a while.
Yeah.
But, and each year it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and more people. But that initial kind of connection was with Eric. So he's going to be there. He's obviously now the chief in Peoria. So he has a very different perspective in terms of, his community is very different than Elgin.
Yeah.
I love having, when people come back and especially when they're now running their own police departments. And, a lot of stuff that we do here, they bring to their organizations. Right?
I understand he's got a lot to deal with in Peoria.
Yes.
There's a number of challenges in that city.
Peoria is a very, very busy community. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were to ask, about their crime and shots fired and it's a very, very, very busy community. But, Eric's been there 3 years and he was a great commander, and just, it's great to have him back, right? And just to have that conversation. So if anyone can make it, also, we have a lot of partners who will be there. The documentary will also make sure we're going to have social workers on staff in case there's some stuff that might be. There's a part of the documentary. It's a little bit, it's not, I would say, concerning, but it might bring up some emotions for people. So, if people need that, assistance, we will have, I think Chance is going to be there, maybe Charm, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Social workers, I'll be there, a whole bunch of people. I think the state's attorney is going to be there. I think
Jamie Mosser?
I think Jamie's going to be there.
Yeah.
I think she is. I'm not 100%. Some council members, community members. So please, if people can, if you want to come on out, we would love to have you.
It's at 1 o'clock a week from Saturday.
A week from Saturday, yep.
Okay.
And then this Saturday, tomorrow, at 10 a.m. at the police department is our swearing-in ceremony.
Yeah.
For Charm, for Mac, and for Ace. So 10 o'clock, it's going to be a very short ceremony. So if you're around the downtown tomorrow, the swearing-in ceremony, it's for the community meet the dogs, right? So this is, but we do give them badges and...
Can they talk?
You know the answer to that. If we had a dog that could talk, we'd be making billions, okay? So,
Yeah.
But it's really an opportunity to for the community to come and meet the new dogs. So obviously, I think Charm is going to be a huge hit. I think Chance has been here about 4 years now. And everybody, I mean, he's gone everywhere. Other communities, especially if they have incidents at schools or other police departments where they want to. It's something very calming about bringing in, people. It puts people at ease, right? So you can people connect how they connect. So we're really happy to have a new addition to our Comfort Dog program, and then also to our canine program. So tomorrow at 10 a.m., if you're around the downtown and you want to stop in and meet our 3 new dogs, we would hope you'd stop by.
And they all have single syllable names.
Yes, all of them.
Or is that what I'm trying to say? Syllable? One syllable.
Chance, Charm,
Ace,
Mac, Rex, Zam.
And Zam?
Yeah, so Rex is Officer Shutro's dog, and I think he's had, maybe 2-3 years. And then Zam, we just got about a year or so ago. So, yeah, they're all, I think that's so that it's easy to call the dog, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have this long name, by the time you get
Penelope.
to the name, the dog's going to be like, what?
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? Right? So.
Ace. You say it with some little.
A little
Mac.
sweetness,
Hey,
right?
Mac.
Yes.
Mac will look. Because it's just a quick little hitting name. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Mark.
Right. I looked. See?
See?
Yeah.
So tomorrow, so those are kind of our new 2 events coming up, and then also we will be doing our open house. I talked to Christy Schmidt. I can't remember when she told me, maybe the 2nd or 3rd week of December. So, we do an open house. That's our last event of the year, a big event. It's usually a couple hours on a Saturday morning. We invite everyone to come down. We'll be putting up, holiday Christmas trees and asking people to come down and put an ornament on our tree, our community tree. So that's our last big event. And then, we're kind of a little bit in, this is the end of the year, as I always talk about, getting our crime stats finalized, working on our annual report, thinking about our strategies for next year. What are we going to be doing? What were our goals? So this is kind of the planning stages. So it's kind of, it's a nice quieter time, I would say, right? Where we
hope, right? Yeah.
Where there's not a lot of community events going on. Because if you talk to Christy Schmidt, she, we have the Halloween event, we have National Night Out, we have the Halloween, but during the summer, we're doing tons of things.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the Halloween event is done, very successful event. And then she'll take a little bit of a breather. And then now we plan for the open house for Christmas.
Yeah. It's kind of nice when things slow down a little.
It is.
A little bit, right? It's like, and I think it's even in our regular lives. I mean, I guess it's always fast paced, but it seems like summertime. It's so nice outside. You want to be doing things all the time. There's constantly things to do.
Yeah.
And as the weather turns and daylight gets shorter, and it offers less opportunity to do things for as long in the day. And I even find, I don't know how you've taken the time change so far, but I'm getting tired when it gets dark.
It's weird because, depending on the day, sometimes I get to work at like anywhere between 7 and 9, just depending. And depending on what's going on, like we had a council meeting on Wednesday, so I don't think I left until 7, right? So sometimes, like, I really don't see the sun, I guess, right? So it's kind of like you're so it really hasn't impacted me that much, except like what you just said, right? When you want to go out and do something, or if you're going out to an event, or and you're kind of like, it's 4:00 and it's dark already.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? Let's just hang out at the house, right? Let's chill at the house. So
Right. I have a picture to show you, by the way. You want to see a picture?
Is it a good picture?
Yeah.
Oh, you sent me a picture the other day.
I did?
Well,
it was an accident, right? Yeah.
And then you said, which it was just a picture of the river.
Yeah.
Which I was fine with that, right? Because I was like, when I looked, I'm like, well, thank God he didn't, because you're like, wrong person. I'm like, yeah, thank God you didn't send me something else.
Right.
Let me see the picture.
Okay, it's on YouTube. You're going to see it in front of you. This is a picture that David T. sent me the other day of the animal control officer. Your YouTube kind of cuts off part of his face here.
Yes.
But he's got a chicken.
He caught a chicken. He had a chicken. What's the background of this?
Well, there was a chicken following David walking down the sidewalk, and the chicken kept on following David. So I guess, and then like the chicken was not going to give up, and so finally, I guess David called animal control, and animal control came over and got the chicken. The chicken went to animal control jail.
Yes. So that's Animal Control Officer Blake Stebbins, and so we have two animal control officers, Matt Cizelzik and Blake Stebbins. And Blake he's been here a while, but Blake is very, very nice, awesome, friendly. So I'm not surprised that he's standing there holding this chicken with this picture, and we obviously took care of the chicken. However, we took care of the chicken. I'll have to ask Blake about it. But all right, well, thanks for sharing that picture. See, I get nervous when you say I have a picture.
I know.
I'm like, oh, what is it, Mark?
Yeah.
You're going to accidentally send me something one day, and I'm going to be like, hey, I have a picture to show.
Well, yeah. We don't want to know what happened to the chicken. Just kidding.
I'm sure Blake did what he needed to do. However, he needs to do it appropriately. So, all right. So let's talk just about a couple things. Again, if anyone wants to call in, obviously, I think I have a couple guests coming up over the next few weeks, and then really in January, either that first or second show, Ryan Drake will be here, my crime analyst, to talk about everything crime related, our crime stats. So I think we usually do that the second January. We like to get our annual report out to the community the first 2 weeks of January. So let's talk first thing, everything with shots fired. So year to date, our last shots fired incident was on November 3rd at almost midnight in the 100 block of Elm Street. There was a large party, and there were shots that were fired. We showed up, and obviously there were shots that were fired. No one was struck in that incident, but that was the last one on November 3rd.
November 3rd, okay.
So that year to date, we are at 60 shots fired. This time last year, we were at 46. So we are 14 cases above. And again, I want to stress, like I talked last week, I talked a lot about shots fired and where we are with the cases. All this information is on our transparency page. You can see the status of cases. Arrests have been made in a lot of these cases. Last year, we ended the year with 52 shots fired incidents. So we're 8 from last year. 2022, we were at 58. And then 2021, we were at 66.
And 66 is the high, right?
66 is the high.
Yeah.
2020, we were at 63. And we had, I think it was 61 or 62 in 2016. So we've had some high years in terms of, and then 2019, we were at 31. So, I know you and I have talked about that a little bit. From 2019 to 2020, it doubled. And, again, 2020 and 21, those years are such outliers in terms of what was going on in society, the community, globally, pandemic, civil unrest, police reform. When you think about, what was happening during that time, and is there a correlation between, in terms of how people respond to stress, right? Or in how they respond to conflict or disputes. So to go from, again, it's 2018, we were at 34, 2019, 31, and then 2020, we spike. 63, then 66, then we dip, 58, 52, and now we're at 60. So, where the end of the year brings us, we'll see where the end of the year brings us. Again, I want to stress to the community, this is a priority for the police department. We have a violent crimes group that meets monthly to talk about strategy. We meet with our special investigations group. We have directed patrols. We're working with our federal partners. Some of these shots fired incidents have no ties to gang. This is interpersonal conflict.
Right.
Some of those shots fired incidents were our double murder suicides that we had this year also. So it's very important to me that the information is given to the community, but the context and what's actually happening is also given. So that's where the discussion points happen.
Domestic violence could be up. Depression could be up.
And I think when we were here with domestic violence, we did have a spike. So I remember talking about the stats, and that is a part of some of the shots fired cases. So
right.
Now,
so those aren't police related. I mean, you can't tie that in with. I mean, it's something that's not a crime problem in our city, I guess is what I'm saying.
It's
Depression, domestic violence is a crime, I guess. So,
Yes.
so that would add to the crime problem if there's more of them. But it's hard for the police to control that situation.
Yeah, I mean, there are some. I'd like to, and thank you for saying that, because I think it's there are things that we are absolutely can have an impact on, absolutely. But there are some things that we can have an impact on the fringe. For example, with domestic violence, right? An officer goes to a domestic violence call. If there's, we refer to our social services, we reach out. What can we do? But as Joanne, has been here many, many, many times talking about, it is such a unique circumstance where it doesn't matter how many times I tell you, you should leave, something bad's going to happen, it's already happened. If I feel that I can't leave, can't financially, emotionally, family, whatever it is, then people do stay. And it's not, people will do what they want to do at their own pace. All you can do is be available for the services. So, or the resources, or when they do decide to say, that's it, I've had enough, right? So we can impact it a little bit if people let us in and we know. But ultimately, it's, there's, even if you arrest somebody, people have been arrested for domestic battery, and people get back together, right? I mean, it's just, this is a very complex type of crime. The reasons why people stay and how it impacts them, it's very, very, it's not just as simple as you should just leave, right? It's so demeaning to tell somebody in that type of situation, just leave. Like, you can say that in a more supportive way, right? Like, these are things to consider, or maybe have you thought about this, or here's some impact that it may have. But just to think, because the police are going to show up and say, you need to leave, they're going to be like, yeah, okay, thanks, right? Like, all right, right? But how am I going to leave? Who's going to pay my mortgage? Who's going to pay my, if I have kids, my family, the stigma associated with it? It's not as simple as that.
Where am I going to go?
Where am I going to go? Right. Like, I think a lot of times people don't realize there's many, many layers to why things happen. For me, especially when we kind of bring it full circle with the shots fired information, there's the number is the number, but there's also context to what's going on, right? We talked last week, 33% of our shots fired cases, we can say has some type of gang tie. The reason why we're able to say that is we've made arrests. We understand the motive of why people are doing what they're doing. There's information that's come to us where we have identified people. But if I have a shots fired case and I just show up and there's just casings on the street and we've exhausted all our investigative means, I'll never know the motive of why that happened, right? So, and some of it is just, people just, especially, around New Year's Eve, I'll come on whatever the last show in December is before the New Year's, and I'm going to say on the first show in January, we want 0 shots fired. That is where a community needs to be at. And you'll say to me, well, that's not really realistic, right? And which is what you do every year. And every year, I'm going to say the community should expect 0 shots fired. That's it. There is no other bar. The bar is 0. And so it cannot be tolerated. It should not be tolerated. When we can make arrests, the officers do a great job making arrests. If we can control all aspects of things that lead to shots fired, we'd already be doing it, right? Because we don't want it to happen. So I think there's also an element of, the community being involved. That's why I talk about it, all the time. We have a transparency site. We post it on social media. All of this stuff is to get that conversation going, but also for me to respond to the community and say, we know what is going on. This is how we're addressing it. Here's what is happening in these instances. And we do need your help. And the community has helped us. And That's the relationship we want to have with the community. So I will continue to talk about it. I also want to mention this. So I thought it was interesting this morning. I went on our transparency site. So a couple of things. This week we've released over the past couple weeks. There are videos on the main page of the transparency site that will show you how to navigate the page.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
Yes.
That's good.
In English and in Spanish.
Yeah.
So, we hosted 3 events to teach people. You were at one of the events.
Yeah.
You said you only had your smartphone, though. So
Right. So it's hard to learn in one session. So I think it's great that you can watch a video.
Yep. So the videos are on there, English and Spanish. Simple questions. I want to know what shots fired data. I want to know how to find crime. Who's my beat officer, right? So once you, I obviously am very, I use the transparency site probably every day. We build it. I build it with Ryan. We add things, so we're working right now on our cold case module to put the cold cases out there, put information out there. So we're building a lot of things. But I want to, when I went on there today to just double check the shots fired data, we are today, year to date, we're at over 61,000 dispatch calls for service. So what I say is when you think about some of the crimes that happen, think about in terms of perspective of, over 61,000 calls, dispatch calls for service. And it's a busy department. That's my point, right? There's a lot going on. It's a busy community. We're the 6th largest community in the state of Illinois. So for our crime to be where it's at, our crime rate, considering everything that's going on, there's always room for improvement, but I also want to make sure that people have some perspective. So, officers are handling traffic crashes, they're handling retail thefts, they're handling batteries, domestic batteries, right? They're handling emotionally distressed persons. I will tell you, we get calls, people who are barricaded in their home, they're suicidal, they're homicidal. When you send officers out there, some of these incidents last hours, right? So there's, and the number of officers on a shift, you could deplete a shift on one call. So there's a lot going on, right? They're handling these calls, they're doing community engagement, car
accidents.
There's there's traffic. I just talked to someone the other day, and they were asking me, a community member was asking me about speeding and loud mufflers and, hearing all these cars and the loud mufflers and, what is the police department doing? And so, I love having those conversations because I think sometimes there's this, maybe if you never see a police officer, right? Like you see probably police officers all the time.
Yeah.
Because you're sitting here.
Right.
But if you are, you live in South Elgin, but you're next to Elgin, right?
Unincorporated, yeah.
Yeah. So how often do you see an Elgin police vehicle, a squad?
Where I live, not
during
often.
your day, because you're in unincorporated. But
so I'm like on the fringe over there, kind of.
So like on your day to day, when you're coming to work, you're going wherever, you're going to the Jewel, you're going to Meyer, whatever it is.
Fairly regularly. Okay. If I'm driving around town.
Yes. So and now think about what is that officer doing, right? Are they going to call for service? Are they doing traffic enforcement? So if you see a vehicle and if you see the police, it gives that impression that the police are around because you're seeing them.
Yeah.
On the flip side, just because you don't see them doesn't mean that they're not around, right? You just may not be seeing them at the right time. So a lot of times I think people will say, well, I've never seen a police officer drive through my neighborhood. And that's why I think people get frustrated sometimes. Like, why can't you just go and to stop every car and tell them to fix their mufflers and stop with their tinted windows and stop speeding? The officers are around, right? It's just you may not be seeing them, but if someone comes and says that to me, then I can say, you know what, let's send our traffic unit out there and be very visible for the next 2 weeks, right? Or next week and do a directed patrol. And let's see how we can impact people's behavior. When you write someone a citation, it's to change behavior. And so you hope that it changes behavior, right? So if I give you a ticket and maybe I give you a warning ticket for speeding, you might be like, all right, that's good. I got a break, and I need to be more careful, right? Yeah. Or you may say, oh, all right, this is my past and I'm going to continue to do what I'm going to do. Now, if I give you a hard copy ticket, which now you either have to pay it or go to court, right? Or you have to go to traffic school, whatever, that might hit home a little bit because now you're financially impacted. Your time is impacted. So you might want to, you realize that experience and say most people learn from their experiences, right? So when we issue citations, it's hopefully to change behavior. But the officers can only be in so many places at once. So, when I talked to this community member, I said, great, thank you. Here's my email. Send me, the time of day where you guys are really seeing some of this or hearing it. We'll send some officers out there. Let's try to do something, right? Like, let's try to impact it. But I'm also not going to, I'm going to be honest with her and say, they're not going to get every car that's speeding, right?
Right.
So
we have a couple things. A couple of people on YouTube. Dino's checking in this morning. He says, hey to the top cop, Anna.
hello, Dino.
Heads and shoulders above the rest, says
Thank you, Dino. Appreciate you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Wilma Cash says, good morning, Chief.
Good morning, Wilma.
And so does Brendan. He says, good morning, Chief Anna. I'm Brendan, and I'm listening.
Good morning, Brendan. Thank you for listening.
And we have a phone call, too.
All right.
At 847-931-1410, heading down the home stretch here. And I think this might be Michael. Let's see. Good morning. Welcome to Fridays with the Finest.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
My name is Mike. Thanks for taking my call. I wanted to say first to the chief, thank you, because it seems to me like any time that I have called lately, which isn't all the time, but there's certain reasons why I've called based on things that happen in the neighborhood. It seems like there's been a quicker response time, even though they're not necessarily pressing emergencies, but so for whatever's happening that seems to make that improved, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Sure. I had a question. Now, I don't get an opportunity to listen very often, so this might have already been addressed previously, but like you had mentioned, based on things that were going on in 2020, 2021, just kind of in society, some changes that we saw with spikes in the shots fired. I know that I have seen an increase in it just based on, I guess I would say, more access to the information. Like on Facebook, I get the notifications, which is awesome also. But my question is, have you noticed increase in crime? Basically, what I'm getting at is with non-citizens. It seems that there's an increase in the area. I live over by the Blackhawk apartment community. And just curious if there's increase in the crimes that are committed because of the more people who are here that are perhaps undocumented, or if that's flat, or if that's information that's tracked.
Yeah, so thank you for your question. So our crime stats are available on the transparency site, and when we're looking at crimes, we're not looking at whether or not a person is a citizen or not. When we do our crime stats, it's based upon the offense. So we're this year to date, through September of 2023, we were at 3,228 Group A offenses, which are your most serious crimes. And this year, and these crime stats are through September, and if you're familiar with the transparency site, you could go on there and see this. We're at 3,477. So that's roughly maybe almost 200 crimes that are increased since last year. So about a 7%, 8% change, but we're still lower than we were many, many years ago. And I can tell you just, when we finalize our crime stats, if some of the spikes that we do see are related to our shots fired calls, might be domestic battery related. So you're able to see kind of where the spikes are. So crime overall in Elgin over the past 50 plus years, we absolutely have been decreasing. We did see some spikes. 2020 was also a very low year when we looked at some of our crime stats, which, again, people are at home. They're staying at home. So you're going to see some of the burglaries decrease. You're going to see some of the, when people are in their residence, you're going to see some things, naturally because they're not having contact with the public. So I think that the best answer is what I just said, that, our crime stats are available. We're looking at offenses, not necessarily the status of people. And so that's the best information that I can give you. And I encourage you to continue to look at our site, look at our crime stats, which we publish every single month. And then at the end of the year, we do an analysis too in terms of what are the crimes that we're seeing increase and why do we think they're increasing. But once again, that's based upon data and information that's provided to us from, the victims who do report it.
Thanks, Mike. We're going to let you go because we're at the end of the show, but thanks for calling.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Take care. All right.
All right. So thank you. I hope everyone has a good weekend. I will be back next week. And again, if anyone's around tomorrow, 10 a.m. at the police department, come out and meet some of the wonderful canines.
Yes.
And have a safe weekend.
Yeah. Thanks, Chief. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Chief Anna Lalley, and the phone lines are always open during her show. And appreciate the call, Mike. Good question. So keep it right here. Have a great weekend. And this is WRMN AM 1410, the talk of the town on a Friday.
This is McGruff the Crime Dog, and I need you to help me take a bite out of crime. Counterfeit products are popping up everywhere. Fake sneakers, fake cosmetics, and even fake pills. Crooks are selling counterfeit versions of just about everything. Last year, billions of dollars worth of counterfeit products were sold in the U.S. Sure, it may seem like saving a few bucks on the things you want isn't a big deal, but counterfeits are usually made in unsafe conditions, potentially using hazardous and even lethal ingredients that could harm you and others. And the money you've paid, it goes right into the hands of criminals and may support child labor, drugs, and even gangs. Smells like big crime to me. So if you still think buying fake products is harmless, think again. And remember, if you don't know where the products came from, how could you know where the money goes? You're smart, buy smart. Go for real. Learn more at mcgruffpsa.org. This message is brought to you by the United States Patent and Trademark Office and the National Crime Prevention Council.
Roll into Bolero in Algonquin or Roselle and wake up with a story to tell. Bolero is bowling, gaming, dining, and nightlife with a twist. Score a sweet deal every day of the week and save big by checking out the daily deals online. Team up with your friends and hit the lanes by forming your own social club. Clubs offer lively competition and laid-back fun for everyone. From beginners to pros, make new friends, bowl, and hang out at a happening place. Visit bolero.com. Dine out with family and friends at Nick's Pizza in Elgin or Crystal Lake. Nick serves up award-winning thin crust and Chicago-style pizza. Eat in or carry out. In addition to Nick's fabulous pizza, let Nick's cater your events with pizza, pasta, Italian beef, and other delicious offerings.